we in there or what?
All right, I think we're good. We're live. We're going. We got sound. We got video. I can't believe. Oh, it's weird seeing your mouth move over here and then not hear you say anything. All right. So yeah, to anyone that joins in or watches this, there was a huge difficulty in setting this up using the OBS streaming setup. I have to put my face through the OBS, and then my voice is going through Skype, and then I got his Skype up using a window I made really small. Wow, I did not think we were going to get there, but we literally got to exactly what I wanted to see. So,
Here we are. Here we
anyways, Nathan Banta, it's so good to see you. You have a glorious mustache on, and
appreciate it.
your glasses look good, your hair looks good, you look trim, you look like you're doing good, man.
I appreciate that, Hunter. You look great as well. Look at you.
I appreciate it. Actually, my hair is so freaking long. I think it's been about a year that I haven't had a haircut. It's ridiculous. So long up top, I've always usually kept it like that. But the back is what's getting me. I don't think I've had hair. I don't think I've had hair that long in the back since dude, I want to say middle school.
Yeah,
I was a little goth kid in middle school,
the
so
stain kid. Yeah,
I had hair down to my shoulders and stuff. But then I was in a I'll go through this all in a second here, but I used to have hair down to my shoulders and everything in high school, and then I went to J-Rotzi, and then it's just been basically short since. Um, Anyways, introduction. This is Nathan Bansa. He was a section chief while we were in the Marine Corps together. So, and what that is just kind of like the person in charge of a howitzer section, and he had that position while I was a fire direction officer and as well as a platoon commander. So we got to directly work together for our time in. And so I want to start this podcast being my very first one. I'm sure that anyone watching can tell it's a little rudimentary, but there's some hurdles we had to get over setting it up. Hopefully, I'll be able to refine it as I move forward. But since it's my first one, I first wanted to go through a little bit of my life, kind of hit some wave tops, just to kind of talk to everyone, as well as you, Nathan, obviously.
yep.
So just little bits here and there. Starting off, my parents split up when I was about 3. And so I don't really have the experience of living in a nuclear household. Not really much to say from elementary school and middle school, except for I played baseball in middle school, and then when I was 12, my dad actually got full custody of me, so I kind of grew up with him for the majority. My mom and my stepdad and my half sister, they all moved to Tennessee for a little bit and then came back. So they were only gone for probably a year, 2 years or something, but they came right back to Bradenton, Florida. That's where I grew up. And then yeah, so my dad had me throughout high school, and yeah, so middle school I was like this little scene kid. I was always causing trouble and such. And then I went to in high school. I went into J-Rotzi, so I was an Army J-Rotzi, because I always wanted to go into the military. I have no idea why. I have no they don't have a lot of family that was in the military, but I always had just this weird calling. It's oh, I got to do military, and then leading to being in the Marine Corps. I just always had, I don't know, I just want to be best of the best, and obviously it's pretty accepted that that's kind of a best of the best organization. So that's what my dream has always been. And I was getting good enough grades in high school. I was pretty much, I think I graduated with a 4.1 or 4.2 or something because of the classes I
Oh,
took. So it's all right, well, I'm getting good grades, so I might as well go to college and might as well become an officer. So that's what led me to the officer route. But I was pretty engaged in J-Rotzi in high school. There was the Raider team, which is kind of the physical fitness competition sort of thing. There's building a rope bridge and crossing it. There's like physical fitness test, and boy, I can't even remember all the stuff that we competed in, but it was just that was like the physical aspect, the kind of like, oh, get
Mm.
out and get gritty and do stuff. And then there was the drill team, so like marching and like actual like organized drill. And I was pretty good at the exhibition drill, which is where they took like the rifles and spun them. And
Mm.
then that was fun. They were actually pretty heavy. Actually, one time
Yep.
I cracked myself in the head because so there was only like two people that could do this, where we could spin two rifles at once, and it was like you like bring one around your head and then to your back, and then you throw one up in front of you, and then you like switch your hands, and then like you keep doing that, and it's basically like it's a circular motion. And first off, they're like modeled after like the Garand, so they had like
Mm.
this front sight post, this just like pure metal front sight post cracked me right on the head, and there was like blood everywhere, and
Oh,
I needed like four staples.
yeah.
Um, but you know that was fun. And then there was
Did
the
you ever pull it off though?
did I ever pull it off? Oh yeah, I was like I like definitely I used it like in competition too. I think we were state champions in a couple different things, in like the squad level and then the platoon level, and then I was the color guard commander. So the not the spinny rifle ones that the band kids did, but the you know like the presentation of like state flag and the American
Yeah.
flag. And
Yeah.
with that, I actually got to do some cool things because those guys are always going to different events like that. You know, have a little like
Yeah.
ceremonious like introduction and everything. And then uh, while I was the commander, of that we actually won like the state competition, which was pretty cool.
Nice. That's really
So
good.
that leads me into I was actually on a full Marine Corps scholarship going into college. Um, so that was neat, but I only did ROTC for like 1 year because it was an interesting experience. So
Yeah.
going in, I was living on campus. Um, I was living like in the dorms and stuff, and I was like kind of like had a just like you know when you're leaving the nest for the first time, kind of like a little bit of depression hit, and my grades weren't doing too well. I was a mechanical engineer major, which I freaking hated. I was like, I was just listening to people say like, oh yeah, do something that's gonna get you a lot of money, engineering degree, that's gonna do it. Not even thinking like, is this what I want to do? Like, do I want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do
Nobody ever
math
thinks
and
about that.
yeah, so I get in there. I'm taking Calc 1, which I took pre-calc and trigonometry and stuff in high school, and then I'm in Calc 1, which is like you know one of the easier calc classes. I mean the easiest calc class, and I'm just like I hate this so much. Like I didn't. It wasn't that I couldn't do it. I just absolutely hated it. I think I took that class like three times before I was able to get like a D or a C or something and just like relatively pass it. But so grade slipping. Oh man, my frame rate is dropping. That's rough. Uh, oh well, it'll survive. It'll be choppy. But so my marine officer in charge at the university, he was I don't want to say hard ass because hard ass is kind of like kind of gives room for like oh just suck it up and like be a man. It was more like his guidance was not there. Like
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
I mean I'm an 18-year-old, like I just left the nest, I'm in college, and it was just like the level of lack of guidance was just really frustrating. So he actually pulled me into his office once and he told me, I'm not gonna name drop him or anything, but he told me um, he will do everything in my power to make me not become a Marine Corps officer. And I was like, okay, fuck you, like I'm bouncing. Like so I dropped my
Yeah.
scholarship, I got out of
Oh, wow.
ROTC, I went through the PLC program, and that was the beginning of my phase to you know becoming an officer. And
Yeah.
then so probably fast forward to like my sophomore year, I was in a pretty serious relationship, and like so much so that I was like living back home and traveling to USF. So that was probably like my first like true like balls out relationship, like adults, like, you know, deep love. And you know, we broke up, and then I went back to Tampa, and then just a culmination of all these things kind of triggered this serious depression. And it was just, I was like at the end of my rope, and I had never like dealt with that before. I never really had a true mentor, or just, you know, someone to really talk the facts about, hey, like this is how you need to act. This is the resources you need to reach out to. This is what you need to do if you're going through this. So I was actually at the end of my rope. I have an SKS rifle that I loaded. I put the barrel in my mouth, and I was about to pull the trigger, and I just had this flash of my dad, and just like the impact of what I would have on him. So I was like, fuck, I can't do this. Like, I put it down immediately, and like the first thing I did was I searched like, you know, ways to overcome that. And first thing I saw, or more so like the biggest thing that stuck out to me, was getting an animal. So that's how I went to the Tampa Pet Resource Center with one of my fraternity brothers. I'm like, hey man, like I'm going through a rough spot. I need you to come with me to, like, I just gonna go look at animals. Like, I don't plan on getting anything. I just need you to be there for me and help me, like, you know, take my mind off of things. So we went, and I'm hanging over there looking at all the animals. There's like no one there, and they had just had a sale. So like it was like a Memorial Day weekend or something. They just had a sale, and like there was like just empty cages, or like kind of like little scrappy looking dogs. It's like, I don't really want to play with that dog, sort of thing, which sounds terrible, but like, I mean, that's just the reality of it.
Let's check out the next
one. Yeah. But then I finally get to this cage, and there's this beautiful American Staffordshire, like just super calm, just mean looking pit bull, like cropped ears. I was a douchebag, so I was like, I wanted to have a dog that looked like badass or whatever. Like, yeah, cropped ears, he looks cool. Like, let me appease my masculinity here.
Yeah, right.
But I was like, I started playing with him, and he's like this most chill dog ever. And I like the amount of luck that I had in finding this dog is just like astronomical. Because like, first off, like this dog is one that looks like it would have gotten picked up in like a minute. And as I was like playing with him, like my hands were like pitch black from the dirt because he had just been brought in the day before. And I'm just like thinking about it. I'm like, man, like I want this dog. I want this dog bad. So I went to go like take like buy him or whatever, or adopt him, and they said like, oh, I can't get him. So like, I mean, can't get him until like he has his like vaccinations and he gets neutered, you know, for the purpose of like, you know, breeders that are coming to, you know, grab them and breed the best genetics and like abuse them or whatever. So I'm like, all right, I'll like, how do I get this dog? Like, well, you can like put your money down, and I basically had to pre-order him. So I put the money down, and they went through the stuff, and I took him home like a couple days ago. And basically, I attribute that dog to saving my life. I still have him. Yep. He's laying on the bed right here. His name is Zeus, and yeah, that dog like saved my life. So yeah. And then going from there, finishing out college, nothing exciting there. Then I had to go to Virginia, Quantico, do the officer training. I was there. You're only supposed to be there for 6 months, because that's how long the actual basic officer course is. And then, but so the class that I was going to, there was like 400 people that reported to it, so like they had to cut 100 people. So the PFT score was like way high, and I wasn't like a super stud or anything. I was just like, you know, kind of like the average, like I don't even want to say top performer because it's just there's kind of like a higher standard there, anyways.
Yeah.
So I didn't make that threshold, and I got pushed back to the next class. And while I'm waiting for the next class, I got sent to the force fitness instructor course, which was interesting because it was like I was like experiencing the enlisted, like working hand in hand with, like, we were basically equals.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting exposure to the enlisted side before, like, as like an initial exposure. It was like a weird precedence that it set in my mind, or I guess it was easy to overcome once I hit the fleet and everything, but it was just weird. It was just a weird initial entrance to it. And then, like, 2 classes later, I went to the actual officer course. I was there for, so I was at TBS for like a year. And then I don't know if you know how the MOS selection works for officers, but basically you pick like 5 or so, and based on like where you rank and like just like a bunch of different factors, you like they pick for you out of that list. So
Yeah.
I was fighting to be a pilot, but it was kind of hard. I had a really good was it ASTB score, so that's the flight aptitude test. I had a pretty high score, but I think like the one person in my platoon had a higher score, and they kind of like did like a 1 per platoon sort of thing. So there's only like 6 spots open, so I didn't get that. So my choices were pilot, naval flight officer, which they didn't have any spot. Like they got rid of that position, so I don't even know why I was able to choose that. Combat engineer, which there was like maybe 5 slots out of the 300 of us in the company. UAV, which there was like 2 slots out of the whole company. And then so I had all that flight stuff, and I'm like, you know what, I want to have a combat arms MOS in there somewhere, because, like, you know, I want to be the hard Marine that, you know, like, you know, at least have that option. And so artillery ended up being my MOS, and that was another one of those things where I didn't really envision it. I didn't really think about it. It was just like, I don't want to do infantry because that sounds like it's gonna hurt my knees pretty bad. What's the next best thing? Oh, let's blow shit up with artillery.
Yeah.
So that's how I got that MOS. And so through all this time, I'm dating this girl from college, and I actually moved her out to Oklahoma with me, and then she ended up going to New York with to do law school there. And so that kind of sucked because we had initially planned on her coming to North Carolina with me to go to Elon University, which is like maybe a couple hours from Camp Lejeune. So whatever. It's like I was upset internally, but I wasn't gonna, like, it would be. I just felt shitty to express that because it's like, oh, she got into this college that she really wanted to get into, even though it was against our like life plans. So
Yeah, and dude, that's so hard because, like, at the end of the day, and that's such a huge pill to swallow, is like, you cannot control other people, man, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, and it's like, it's like you can't get mad at that either. I mean, it's like
no,
it's
their
it's kind of justifiable that it's like there was an agreed life decision that we were making.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, well, shit. Now I gotta support you in this, even though you kind of like a little baby stab in the back. But
Yeah.
I got over it. I was upset, but I got over it. So she was in New York while I hit the fleet in North Carolina, and then before my first day of showing up at the office, I got a call from Scott Whitley, the XO of Fox Battery. Well, when I first hit Fox Battery, and he told me, he's like, hey, like, I'm the XO of Fox Battery, like, we're deploying. I was like, oh, well, Roger that. So Drea she was like visiting me at some point. Actually, she might have been in North Carolina because I think this was the summer. So she was back in North Carolina with me, so I was able to tell her like right away. And like a couple days later, I kind of sat her down and I'm like, did this like real informal proposal, and it was basically just like, hey, like it's probably a super small chance, but like there is a possibility that I die. Like you never like that's literally like the
Yeah.
point, like being forward deployed and like being
Yeah.
ready to go into a combat environment. Like hey, this is the reality of it. Like, will you be my wife? And she said yes. We had a little courthouse wedding. Which, fun fact, uh, Justin Holm, the platoon commander that we were in at the time, he paid for my whole wedding. It was because
Nice.
it was just like it was like $20, and I didn't have any cash on me. So I'm like, hey man, can you pay for my wedding real quick? And because he had to be there to be the witness for it. So
Yeah.
it was just
Dude, that's
a
awesome.
funny little story.
What
But
friends are for, man.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and
Awesome.
then oh, quick fun story. So my first field op was the direct fire shoot, and uh, how many direct fire shoots did you do with Fox?
Uh, Participating only one.
Okay,
I think two, maybe.
so do you remember the one where it had to have been like summer 2019. It was I think it was part of the workup for the deployment.
I probably do. Is it the one where we skipped around into the water?
Yes, it's that one.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
So this is like Butterbar, Lieutenant Hagman, like just observing this shit happen because like obviously I had zero training on a direct fire, so I'm just a fly on the wall at this point. And for those of you watching, danger close is 600 meters, and we shot
I
around.
know exactly what you're talking about.
We
I'm
shot
standing right there,
around.
dude.
Yep. We shot around that impacted what was it, like 300, like 400 meters, something like
It was
that.
close.
It was
It was.
close. But
It
me
was really
being my
close.
ignorant, dumb butterbar self, I'm sitting there staring at it like, ooh, pretty. I think you were the closest person to me,
I got
along
a
with
video somewhere, dude.
along with the rest of the battery just like hits the deck. And I'm just like standing there staring at this like, oh, this is pretty. And then I look around me, I see you like on your knees or something like ducking. I'm like,
There's
oh,
like shrapnel flying back.
yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I could have just died just then. And then
Looking at the rainbows.
ooh, pretty. And then so like a couple rounds later too, like there was legit shrapnel that like bounced and kind of like skimmed my leg a little bit. I'm like, this is a questionable experience here.
Yeah.
So we had our workup, and then we went on deployment. Deployment was super shitty. Um, I remember in Morocco, or not Morocco. I was in civies about to get off the ship in Morocco because I was doing the shore patrol the day before we were supposed to
Yeah.
have Liberty there. Literally 5 minutes, like before I was about to get off, like I'm literally sitting there waiting for the call. Hey, shore patrol, you're good to debark and go ashore. So I was like waiting for it in my civvies, ready to go. Like this is my first time traveling. I went to like the Americanized part of Mexico twice, like Cozumel, Senor Frogs like style traveling. So that does not
Yeah.
count. That is not traveling in any sense of the word. So this is my like, oh, I'm traveling for the first time. Then we get the call that this was under Trump. So it was an Iranian general that was in Iraq, General
Yeah.
Soleimani. That's when Trump had that airstrike on him, and we were immediately pulled out of Morocco. And mind you, we were supposed to do an artillery shoot there. We had me and Captain McIver. We had so much planning that went into this, and the because the fire direction officers have to do all the like the safety planning and all the meticulous like book work that you do beforehand, all thrown out the window. Which whatever is what it is. It's kind of cool to be in that mindset of like, oh, like world events are happening and we're responding to them. So that was kind of an interesting feeling.
It's
But
very surreal.
yeah,
It is very surreal, like actually being over there and they're like, well, we're going a little deeper east.
yeah.
And
And
the fact that they didn't tell us anything for
yeah,
like 3 weeks, bro.
yeah. And then we find out so we start finding out about these Iraqi embassy riots, and our platoon was the embassy reinforcement unit. So we were like, oh, like we're about to do some Marine things. Like we're ready. Like you just imagine, it's like a whole ship full of dudes doing dude things, no outlet for anything, and just all this like pent up frustration, aggression, and like not having
Worry.
any fun and worry. Yeah, like and it's like we get to potentially do. And mind you, it wasn't like, oh hey, we might do this. It was like, hey, be ready for this. Like, go
Yeah.
go through the mental checklist, go through the physical checklist, get ready to be ready for this. So like, all of us are we're gonna do some cool shit. Special forces unit comes in and takes that from us, and it was just so disappointing. And that was like the theme of the deployment too. It's like, all right, get ready, we're gonna go shoot here. Oh, we're gonna go help out here. We're gonna go do this. No, like everything got canceled. It literally got to the point where I was bringing the Marines together. I'm like, hey, we're gonna get told we're gonna do something, and it's gonna get canceled. I literally had to say that sentence like at least 4 or 5 times, and this was after I already got super excited and let down like another 4 or 5 times about stuff we were gonna do.
Yeah. Finally set in with you that we're not doing shit.
Yeah, it's like it was a pretty disappointing deployment, but we
You
did.
didn't.
What's
You
that?
haven't even got to the worst part. COVID.
Oh yeah, COVID. Yeah, yeah, because all right, so right before COVID, oh, it's actually funny. So before we deployed, I don't know why we had like cable television at my house. I was living with another lieutenant at the time. I don't know. I don't know why he signed up for cable, because it was like we are well into like we got Netflix, we got
Yeah.
Hulu, we got all these streaming services, but somehow we had a cable box with cable on it, and the news was on, and it was talking about this virus that got released in the Wuhan labs, and I don't know why I actually remembered that, because like I've got a terrible memory of things. So like just to see something in passing and like actually remember it and then realize
Yeah.
like, oh, like that's something that changed the world. It was just one of those funny things. All right, so before it affected us, we got one port call in Abu Dhabi, and it was okay. It was interesting on my experience. It was there was so we all the lieutenants like pretty much stayed together the whole time. I don't know if you remember Captain Petruni.
Yeah.
He's a petroleum engineer major, so he's in like
He's smart.
he's smart, and he has contacts too in the petroleum industry, and being the Middle East, there's like the biggest petroleum industry around. So he knew he had a friend there that was like working there, and obviously
Right.
he's working in petroleum industry, and in Abu Dhabi this dude's making some serious bank. So he takes us out to this like really nice restaurant, and we get there. First off, that country is like super racist, like very like in a subtle
Well,
way.
yeah. They're
Um,
blind.
yeah, and so we're at this nice restaurant, and I was wearing shorts. So I walk past, we all walk past, and then Captain McIver was wearing shorts too, but they stopped him and said, "Hey, like you can't wear shorts in here." And he's like looking over to me, who's wearing shorts, and I'm like, "Oh, it's because you're black, dude. Like
Oh,
they are
damn.
just not letting you in because you're black." And we brought that up, and we're like, "Oh no, 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 like that's not it. Like just go on, go sit down, go." Um, so we start having some like fancy drinks. They didn't have food. They had like little hors d'oeuvres and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was a good experience. And then they had the dune
Yeah.
driving with the roll cages and stuff. That was pretty fun.
It
There's
was.
there was the whatever radio station was going on in my car had like it was like Arabian dubstep. It was actually really,
Yeah,
it was really awesome
yeah,
to like be.
we had that too, and it was like twists on American songs, dude.
Yeah, it was like it hitting the dunes with like this heavy Middle Eastern EDM going on. Was that was
Yeah,
definitely an interesting one. Then there was what else was there? There was that there's like a lot of us went to it. It was like this. It was at like in the afternoon into the evening. There was like this whole like event that happened that was kind of like traditional. It was like a weird. I don't even know what to call it. It was like a traditional experience. It was like hookahs. There was like traditional food. That's where they had like the camel rides. Um, a large portion of the ship went. I guess you didn't with
that
the.
was like the Dune thing, right?
Was it
That's
part?
what took us out there.
It,
Yeah,
is
because
it? Maybe it
these
is.
little like SUV things, and then they went through the dunes, and then we finished at like the little staging area.
Oh, I guess I didn't think about that all being connected. I thought they were separate
Yeah,
events. That
it
was
was just
that was interesting too. That was
it was fun.
it
It was
was it was
fun.
a
Like
good experience. It was especially like
yeah,
that was my first like experience in another culture.
yeah,
And I think the the funniest part was we were just wandering around um and we are just like looking for like I was like, "Oh, I want to get like something authentic, like some authentic food." So like let's find a kind of maybe like a hole in the wall kind of place sort of thing. So we
yeah.
we find this place, go in there. It looked like offices, like you think about like offices in like a building from like early 2000s where it's like kind of dingy and stuff. It literally looks like one of those that was repurposed into a restaurant and there was no one else in there. So I was like, this is either really good or really bad. So
Yeah.
I'm like looking at the menu, I'm trying to order food and I'm like I don't really know what this is saying it is. So I asked him like, "Hey, what is this meal here?" And he goes, "Meat." I'm like, "Okay, well I gathered that much. Like, what kind of meat?" He's like, "It's meat." I'm like, "Okay, but like, what animal is this?" And he just goes, "Bah," and I'm like, "You know what? Whatever, I'll take it." The food ended up being pretty good, and then outside of that, we pretty much spent the whole time on the top of the Ramada drinking because there's no so they don't sell any alcohol in there except for at hotels. So it was all four of us lieutenants except for Whitley. We just like we read on the internet like, oh, we can only go at like a Ramada to get alcohol. So we're just like
Yeah.
wandering around and like we see an elevator and then we get into the elevator and realize, oh, like we were supposed to have a key card to get onto the elevator. So luckily there was someone with us that key carded it and sent us to the top. And we're like, well, we know we can't get back up here if we leave, so we were literally just ripping cigarettes and drinks the entire time. And I think that was the day that I was supposed to be the sober one, but it was just so boring. There was like nothing to do really outside of that little events that we did. That I just stayed there and I got drunk.
We had
Um,
two different experiences of it. Well, kind of. We did do the Dune thing. Like I said, I think it was like the whole platoon there, or a whole like battery.
yeah,
Um, so I've been on the couple UDPs before, and just it's always the same thing. Especially if you're on ship, you get off and Marines want to go to the bar. They want to find the bar, dude. We spent like 3 or 4 days in the bar straight, like in the same bar in Thailand. And I was like, I'm not doing that again. And of course, uh, Maldo was like on board with that too. He's like, "Yo, let's go like screw that, screw the bars." And we weren't drinking at the time. We went sober the whole deployment, and I was like, "Let's like see some culture." And it was off limits, but we went anyway. But we went to the Grand Mosque, um, and it was probably one of the coolest experiences that I've had. It's just a marvelous, like, beautiful structure, like,
mm,
and it's just massive. And um, there's this whole process to get to it. You start like, um, it's probably close to a mile away, like you can see it, but you basically go underground.
oh wow,
And you follow these tunnels underground, and there's like little shops throughout the thing, and it's kind of like an underground mall.
Hmm.
And you basically follow these directions, and then it comes to a point where they sort you between male and female. So you go off into your separate rooms, and essentially, for the men, if you were wearing shorts, they took you in a dressing room and gave you like basically sweatpants, just so your legs were covered. For the females, they would give them, I don't know the proper term for it, but the headdress, to cover their head and
Yeah, it was
face,
like
hair.
a burqa.
Yeah, and when we were in there, like there was security, and if somebody were to like try to take that off for pictures, like security snatched them up. Like you need to cover up. Like, of course, like they're very big on their respect to their religion.
Yeah.
So, and I believe we were the only Americans that I saw, and there was thousands and thousands of people there, like from all over the world. It was incredible, dude. Like it was really great, and I can share pictures with you later.
Hell yeah.
But it was neat.
Yeah,
Really.
I didn't do anything. I definitely probably should have. I can't really remember what my mentality was like for that, because like now like in my state of mind now, it's 100% like, hey, like I want to see history, I want to see culture, I want to experience, like I'm not worried about like getting fucked up at a bar. But yeah, I've had huge growth since then, so I don't who knows what my mentality
Yeah.
even was. But anyways, moving forward with my little bits of story. So COVID hits, we go high into the right on a ship to where we're like, oh, we gotta sit one across from like one seat in between each other during the chow hall, and it's like, yeah, I get it. Like that's the mentality of the military. Like take it to the extreme and then ease back once you reassess. It's understandable, but it was like so fucking dumb. Like the gym was limited to like 10 people in there or something stupid. It was like
Yeah.
ridiculous. I remember resorting to just like doing like body workouts in the room because like you have nothing to do all day. You want to get that lift in, so that's just frustrating. But COVID hit. We basically did nothing the rest of the time. Shush. Let me go check that real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah.
You good?
I don't think that was anything. I think that was little Tina being a little overly protective there. All right, so yeah, nothing really happened on deployment. Get back. Then one of my biggest obstacles occurs in my life where, I'm married at this point, and we're back, and obviously, you're different. You are a changed person like one day in the future. So
Yeah.
fast forward, the 7 months we were out there, however long it was. Obviously, like I'm a different person. My wife is a different person, and it's a little rocky getting back into it. So there's constantly like this tension between us, and she kept saying like, "Hey, we have a lot to talk about," and I was trying to be better. I was trying to be the best I could be. So we'd sit down, have some conversations, have a long conversation, whatever. Things would still be weird the next day, the next week, whatever. She kept saying, "Oh, there's still a lot more we need to talk about." And I'm like, "Fuck, man! Like I'm being such a terrible husband. Like I'm not cutting the cake here." So I snapped one day, and it was I don't know, she was back in New York. I'm on FaceTime with her because I would like call her every morning, and then she said it again. It's like, hey, there's something we need to talk about, and I don't know what happened, but I just like a switch flipped, and I'm like I kind of lost it. I'm like, hey, like you can't keep doing this. Like I'm like losing my mind here. Like I need to know what is going on, and that's when she told me that she was cheating on me throughout the whole deployment, which sucked because it was like everyone that talked about it, that talk comes up while you're deployed. Go, you think your girl's faithful back home, whatever, and
You're the stereotype at that point, dude.
yeah, but I'm like no, 110%. She's not cheating on me. She's like 100% faithful to me, and I'm like, fuck, I'm just a statistic now. Like I'm this fucking idiot that thought everything was Gucci. But no, I was in a heavy state of shock. I was like, like I was on the, it was on, I was living in Sneed's Ferry, so I was about 45 minutes from the office, and just the whole ride, I'm like, I'm a different person. Like I snapped. Like I was raging. I was like punching things. I was losing my mind. I was absolutely not someone. I was not the same person. So. Yeah. Being that I had my my bout with suicide before, I knew I had to do something immediately. I had to immediately start a system of coming to terms with the reality of it. So first thing I did is I walked straight into Chaplin. You remember Chaplin Turner, the one that used to be in 0811?
Yeah.
So I walked in there and I told him straight up, I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm in a state of shock right now. I just need guidance. So I was talking to him for a bit. This fucking dude, he's like, it's like what you need to tell her is she needs to come back to North Carolina and reconcile things, like, or it's over. And then he said, if I were you, I would hunt this guy down and I would like kick his kneecaps in. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking do that, man. Like,
yeah,
and like,
great advice.
In retrospect, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this was a chaplain for an entire artillery battalion, and he's telling me to go kneecap some dude who probably like is.
Wasn't he the artillery guy?
Yeah, he was the one that used to be an artilleryman.
Yeah.
Which like I guess what else would you expect from that set of circumstances?
Yeah.
But yeah, in retrospect, I'm like, why did you say that? Like, why did you tell someone who has like no capability of making rational decisions to go hunt someone down and commit assault on this man? And I legit started to like I found out his like Drea would not tell me any information, and I found out this dude's name. I found out like where he was going to school, like because I don't think he was going to. Oh, he might have been going to the same school. I don't know. But like I was on the verge of finding out where he lived and like driving there. And then like, I started to come to my senses and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, no, like this isn't it. But yeah, so this is like a biggest part of my speeches to people. Cuz I don't know if you were in the platoon when I brought the platoon together and told like I had like a mental awareness or mental health awareness / suicide talk. I pretty much did that with every unit. But then so that leads me to like my biggest point of, hey, like you need to talk to people. Like you need to reach out to someone. And I knew I needed to do that. So what I did was every day I just told one person, and it just became easier and easier. And
yeah, dude. That's awesome.
And that's how I overcame that, because if I hadn't had that first experience with the suicide attempt, who knows, like maybe I would have been grown enough to like understand it myself, but I don't know if I would have had the same reaction. I think something drastic might have happened because I was at an extreme low, and like everyone around me that I reached out to, they helped me get through that. That's kind of my driving point to anytime I have that talk with anybody. So then we get into So then I go to liaison for a little bit. I'm the battalion level observer, and then my back starts hurting. Well, then yeah, my back starts hurting, and then I get put into the three shop, and I'm just a paper bitch for the rest of the time in the Marine Corps. But then that's when we had Staff Sergeant Sansonetti. He took his own life, and that's another part of whenever I have these speeches. I have his little memorial bracelet on. I never take it off. I never will. Well, I mean, I will, but like, it's going right back on if I do take it off, sort of thing.
Yeah.
That was pretty hard for me.
Yeah.
There was a level of subconscious guilt because I talked to second platoon and first platoon was right there, and I never brought them in to have that speech. Which I'm a rational person. I know that's a stupid way of thinking. That like I could have done something to actually prevent that, but like when you're trying to make that difference, it's hard to
Yeah. Dude,
it's hard to fully accept that. Um,
yeah.
so there's always an inkling of could I have stopped that from happening? Which
Yeah.
realistically is probably like maybe like a 5% chance that really could have, he would have allowed himself to be helped. Uh,
Yeah.
but shit, 5% is enough to have some heavy guilt.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
that was pretty rough for me. I broke down crying in the middle of the office. Like that hit so hard for me.
Yeah.
But fast forward, I find out I have a ruptured L5S1 disc, and basically got screwed by the Marine Corps because I didn't get career designation, which I knew was because of the injury. Which that's that's something that should have been like separate from analysis of like, hey, we're gonna keep you in. But I guarantee you there was elements of like like politics of like, hey, like people talking behind closed doors, like, hey, this guy's injured, like don't do anything with that, which is not the
Yeah.
way to go about it. And then I'm fighting to get a medical retirement because that's what I rated. Um, there's like 10 orders between Marine Corps orders, Naval orders, Department of Defense orders, Title 10 laws, all of this stuff. And like I compiled it, like I went lawyer mode. I took out excerpts and put them in Word documents, and I brought them to my immediate boss, who is, I guess I won't name drop anyone, but my immediate, the major immediately above me. He's like, this is the biggest problem with the Marine Corps too. Is it's like, oh, we don't deal with any of that. That's the naval side, so go to them. Then you go to the naval side, and then they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. I literally I'll name drop this bitch, but Lieutenant I can't even remember it. He was the battalion surgeon. He looked like a fucking dork. I hate his guts because he said to me, I'm not a hateful person, and I don't truly hate this person, but the way this guy treated my situation gets me fired up. Because I went to him, I'm like, hey, like, this is the order, what it says. Like, you see it. Like, it's the order. It's how you're supposed to operate. And he looks at it and goes, yeah, well, we don't really do things that way. Or it's like basically like we're not gonna do this because we haven't been doing it that's not how we do things. And I'm like, that's the wrong fucking answer. Like, fuck you,
I
you're
had a
stupid, I hate you so much, do your fucking job. And then
I had a first tell me that Marine Corps orders don't matter. Then I got paperwork. It's like, yeah. It's
I
like,
mean
like I
that's
pulled up the order and everything, and I was like, here it is. And he's like, well, Marine Corps orders don't matter. Here's the 6105. I was like, okay.
it's so funny how like it is so true how people follow the rules that they want to follow.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm guilty of it too. Like I absolutely did things I wasn't supposed to do, like per the orders and stuff. But it wasn't things that are like as drastic as affecting someone's discharge. So
Yeah.
I literally
Yeah.
I hired a lawyer and everything, and dude, you do not win with the government. Like there's just it was literally so we went to the regimental surgeon, and I'm like, hey, because like the problem is like these guys don't know how to deal with these situations because no one brings it up. Obviously, like a lot of the enlisting guys
Yeah.
that are getting out, they're just like, oh, I just want to get out and leave, and like I'm like a rare occasion to where I know how I know like what I deserve, the proper procedure for things, and I'm like the only one fighting for it. Everyone else is just like laying down and getting kicked like a puppy, and they didn't know, like no one was biting. Like it was just so rude, and not rude, but it was just like it gets me. It makes me lose my train of thought. It pisses me off so much. It's like
Yeah.
resurfacing emotions I suppressed.
Yeah, this one really kept you up at night.
Yeah, no, it sparked. I still struggle with depression sometimes, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's it's usually mainly caused when my back is hurting the most. So my back's hurt, and I get a bit thinking about like how I didn't get proper discharge. I'm literally like I got discharged as fit for duty. Like I could literally be recalled right now, and I'm like, dude, you can see like how am I getting discharged as fit for duty when you see I haven't taken a PFT, a CFT in over a year. I've been through physical therapy. I get back injections. I have a referral for surgery. Like, oh no, you're fit for duty. It's like,
So
are you kidding me?
are you still fighting it then?
No, not the actual medical retirement. I'm just fighting for I'm just trying to get an increase in the VA percentage.
Okay.
Cuz I mean,
Dude,
I
keep pushing, dude. Get 100, man. Like it's
I definitely know I could.
yeah.
What are we barking
I would
at?
definitely, I would definitely make these claims too. You know, if you haven't written any like uh, statements or anything, rebuke your claims.
Yeah.
Um, but
I've got an appeal in through the VA right now. Actually, it's been in since March of last year. So that's not going anywhere, but I'm hiring one of those companies that boosts it for you.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, but I'll eventually get it, and hopefully I get the back pay too.
yeah. You
That'd
should.
be a nice
I
jump.
def- and
Um,
then all the worrying will be in the past.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, it'd still be nice to have the retirement versus or the
yeah. The medical retirement
retirement.
versus the
Yeah,
VA.
that's huge.
Yeah, so it it's a very bitter. Whenever anyone asks me like, would you do it again, or that's Zeus, by the way. He's really dumb. Um, Whenever anyone asks me about, oh, would you do it all over again, or like, did you like being in? There's always the hesitation because it's a double-edged sword. Looking, if I'm purely looking through the lens of everyone that was beneath me, you and all the Marines, like 100%, absolutely, I'd jump through fire to fucking go through that again because that was the best part of my military experience was being in charge of you guys, was having, making an impact. Um, and I actually really it really hit home with when I was with the liaison teams because I was still doing those speeches like bringing everyone in. Hey, what's like talking like maybe you haven't experienced these life experiences, but if you do, like you need to reach out, talk to me, whatever. It's probably like
Yeah,
the fourth or fifth time I said it. Zero feedback. Obviously, I just told like an officer just told a story about him almost killing himself, and then he told a story about how his wife was cheating
yeah,
on him on deployment.
dude.
It's like
You can
crickets
you
at
can
the end of
hear it.
it.
You can hear it over and over and over from a million different stories, but until you're in that situation, dude, you brush it right off. Like it
Yeah, and
until it hits home to you. You know, like oh shit, like I'm a little feeling like that. You know, like
yeah,
maybe I should maybe I should tell someone about it. You know,
yeah.
but
So, but like, so my feedback is like it's zero. There's no feedback. There's no like. It's literally. I think the first time I did it, it was like, oh, or actually, it might have been the second time I did it. Like, I was. Does anyone have any questions? I'm like, I shouldn't have even asked that. No one's gonna have any questions. Like, it's just this awkward silence looming in the air, because the officers don't make themselves that vulnerable to the Marines, and that's what
oh
I
yeah,
really tried to. Because we have the basic, like check in the box of play this video, like read this paper to them about suicide.
yeah,
That means fuck all to anybody. Like absolutely no one cares about
yeah,
that. Unless it's like it hits, like it truly hits home, like it does for me. But
yeah,
even still, I look at it and I'm like, the person doing this training, it's just a check in the box. Like that's not, sometimes you get the occasional like depth to it with whoever is talking about it, but for most of the time, like everyone's glazed over and they're thinking about lunch or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I th- for I think for me to do it, not like a toot my own horn sort of thing, but I think it was very impactful coming from me instead of like the Marine Corps training. And
Yeah.
I didn't think it was making any difference. I thought I was just like wasting time until finally I didn't think I was wasting time. I knew like if there's a 0.01 chance I'm making a difference, like I'm gonna put the effort in to do it. But it's real hard when it's just like absolutely nothing. So I had a radio operator, Corporal Ramirez. He came up to me immediately afterward and was like, "Hey, sir, like that was the realest shit I've ever seen from an officer." And I'm like, "Fuck, that makes it all so much worth." Like, there's actual level of gratification for like, I'm like giving a piece of myself to these Marines every time I talk about it
Yep.
like that. And it's
Yep.
like just to get a little bit of feedback was sent me to the moon, man. Like it made it so worth it. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Putting yourself out there, you never really know how other people are gonna perceive it. And like I know that was like a big step the first time I did my live for the first time, and I brought up some real shit, bro. Like a lot of childhood stuff, and I was crying on Facebook Live, dude. And it's
yeah,
like, but dude, like you said, like people started reaching out and like sharing their stories with me and their hardships, and it's a connection. Like we're we struggle together,
yeah,
and we have so many like situations in our lives and feelings that are the same, but if you don't talk about it, you don't know that.
yep,
You So that's another like weight on your shoulders where you feel like I'm the only one that feels like this, like, and it kind of turns in not so much like a pity, but like the like self-digging thoughts of like why me and
yeah,
that stuff, where it's like, oh, the guy next door is going through the same thing, but just different people, or it's
yeah.
crazy.
It's insane how much we all experience that's so similar. Like even outside of like struggles and such, like
Yeah,
behaviors, the way like you live life, the thought processes you have. It's like
yeah,
and you think you're different for like having
yeah,
these behavior thought processes, and literally the person right next to you is doing the same exact thing.
yeah,
And I think I've been experiencing that a lot more lately. Where it's like
yeah,
there's just I can't think of any like exact examples, but it's just like there's so much to life that's similar. Like to like us as a human beings have this like interconnected. I guess you could even call it like an instinct where we're just like we don't even know other people are doing it, but we're all behaving this. It's crazy. This
yeah,
like weird hive mind that we all have as a species.
yeah. Hive mind is a great example
Yeah.
of that.
All right. So almost to the end of my story here. I did not think I'd be talking this long. Honestly, like
Dude, yeah,
it's not
dude,
like an hour.
time goes fast, dude. Like,
Honestly, I'll even do a little interjection here. This one of the reason I really wanted to start a podcast. I probably should have said this at the beginning of the podcast, but uh, I've been listening to so much Joe Rogan, dude. It's so. Have you ever actually like sat down and listened to his podcast?
I've picked through a few of the ones that people have sent me, like, oh, you have to listen to this one, but
Dude,
not.
it's
I haven't listened all the way through.
I literally started. This was like 2 years ago. I started from episode one. It was him and like Brian Redband, literally like just doing like just this, like they just sat down in
Yeah,
front of a computer and hit play, and they just started talking. And it's grown to like so many like it's not just like famous people or like like whatever big like artists or whatever, but it's like people that are so intellectual. Like he has such smart people on, such deep thinking people, and obviously
yeah,
by nature of him exposing himself to that and engaging himself into those conversations, he himself is just become this like hugely like positively analytical person. And it's like everything that he there's like literally like 99% of his views on the world I agree with, which is like
yeah,
just insane because like I used to always think of myself as like, oh, like I'm, more on the Republican side, like I'm a, right
Mm,
wing person. But like as time goes on, it's just like I just like succumb to the social uh aspect of having to identify a rigid political belief system to yourself, and ultimately I've kind of come to the conclusion that it's just like was like libertarian, like I'm just like I'm all about freedoms and stuff, and just like
the whole time you were, yeah,
dude, yeah, it's like I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm pro like whatever like you want to do with your body, like just as long as you're not hindering anyone else's freedoms, like fucking
I
do
think,
it.
dude, that like right there, or safety. Um, that's the view that so many people that I talk to and associate with. That's their view. As long as what you are doing and anybody else is not affecting, like harming other people, mind your own damn business.
Yeah,
You know,
as long as you're not
like
having a negative impact on
yeah,
anyone else, like live your life, and that's where. Well, I'm just gonna do some wave tops here because this can get into a deep discussion, and I feel like we're gonna have some more podcasts together because
yeah, dude. That's
you haven't
dude.
even started telling your story yet. So
We can do this once a week if you
hell
want.
yeah, dude. All right, so I'm not gonna get into this, but I'm just gonna get into the reason I want to start was this right here to have. I felt like I've been lacking intellectual conversation in my life, so it's like I'm in college again, which like you think would be great for stimulating the mind, but I'm like hanging out with my fraternity. They're all just a bunch of fucking ding dongs. I
Yeah,
mean, I love
and that
them. They're awesome, but like they got one thing on the mind, and that's just like getting fucked up, and that's it.
yeah,
Which I'm all about having fun. I've done
yeah,
my fair share of partying. I'll still do some partying, but God, I'm just missing out on deep intellectual conversation in my life.
yeah.
And
And I think that's a phase we're both really in, or kind of growing into. Uh, dude, I listen to podcasts where I don't understand like a quarter of the words. You know, like neuroscience topics, and like they're
yeah,
talking about all these stuffs, and I'm like, I got to Google what that word is. I want to Google, and I eventually want to go into that field,
yeah,
uh, and I love the phrase, and I've kept it in my mind since uh, moving to Texas is strive to be the dumbest person in the room, and I fully believe that statement.
I like that.
Yeah, because if you're around people that are, have these common goals or even intellectual conversations, like you were saying, um, you're not you're not. It's so much different than the crowd that just wants to smash 40s all day.
Yeah,
It's a totally different atmosphere, and by being around those groups, you will essentially be led down that path as well.
yeah. You're
It's
only gonna
basic peer
grow from
pressure.
that. Yeah,
you know, and yeah, so it's very important, and yeah, self growth and self knowledge is huge,
yeah. I've
and
been I've been in a huge fit. Probably the past like year. I've just been like just hardcore. I want to grow. I want to learn. I want to be. I just
yeah, dude,
want
yeah,
like I don't want to stagnate. I do not want to stagnate, and I'm not doing the greatest at it. I mean I think I'm doing great at it in terms of like I'm super busy between school, work, and trying to run this channel and like refine my skills into making it to where I can produce things that people want to consume.
yeah.
Uh, I think I could definitely be doing better, but all I care is to just like
Are you
gung
better
ho
than you were?
forward. Yeah, I'm 100%. My mind,
That's all that matters, man.
it almost hurts to think about like how expansive like I've been, like my mind has become, and just like how free thinking and deep into ideas and creativity and self growth. I've it almost drives me crazy a little bit with like how much my mind will push towards that growth.
Yeah,
But it's a good feeling.
It
and
is.
I don't think it's gonna let up. I'm on a heavy spiral towards this growth, and it's
That's
exciting.
awesome.
It's new territory because it's like my entire intellect, my entire way of thinking has been changed. Um, yeah. All right. Gotta finish my story here.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
at the end. I'm at the end. Um, because it relates to that. It kind of like the kind of what propelled me into this train of
Yeah.
thought. So I let's see. I just got out of the Marine Corps. Oh, it's funny that I don't know if you know, but like remember when I had like that dermal piercing?
Yeah.
I got that like the day I got out. I had the appointment to get that, so I literally left the office and went straight to get my face pierced.
Yeah, I know.
Uh, you you had your
I
nose
had theirs
pierced
like two
while you
weeks
were still
before.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
told me,
yeah.
and you would use the mask to
Just to
cover it
confirm,
up.
bro. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Let's see. So because the deployment got cut off, basically all of our port calls got cut off. I went to Europe for a month
Hmm.
and had some interesting stories because so I actually went with a JAG who will remain nameless for his sake. Um, but it was his. He was supposed to be celebrating his birthday. He had a group of like 5 people that were supposed to go, and I was like hanging out with him, and he was talking about it, and I kind of like felt awkward about it, but I kind of went for that. I went to like nudge myself into the plan. I was like, hey, you mind if
Yeah,
I tag
yeah.
along? And it ended up to where I was the only person that went with him. So kudos to me for following through.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
so that started with. So I was supposed to go to Norway like 3 separate times, I think. Once with Fox, and then twice with Liaison. So I was like, I gotta go to Norway. I gotta check Norway out.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I went to Europe a week before him because he didn't want to go to Norway. So I flew into Oslo, spent a week there. That was an interesting time. Um, we're gonna save the Oslo story for another time. For when I look into what can demonetize me and what things I can and can't say on here because I'm still not familiar with everything.
Yeah.
Uh, but that was an interesting melting pot too. Like there was a lot of different cultures there. Just amazingly beautiful city there. I went to an illusion museum. That was interesting. It was just like a bunch
Nice.
of weird like trickery, exhibits.
Yeah.
I went to the World War II Norwegian Resistance Museum. That was really interesting, especially to find out like 'cause I didn't really know about Norwegian history in World War II.
Yeah.
I guess like the Nazis came over and took them over, and then they had this huge like secret underground espionage network
Wow.
that was like literally out of a movie. It was really interesting some of the stories they had there, and they had a swastika that was made out of like completely out of like Garand rifles. It was
Hmm.
it was one of those like heavy kind of feelings like oh this is a dark
Yeah.
part of history, but like
Yeah.
obviously like I'm grateful to you know be able to understand some of the things that other people went through.
Definitely.
What else happened in Norway? Oh, there's a like statue park. I forget what it's called, but there's a statue that this one sculptor made like all the statues for. There's probably like 150 statues, but it's all made out of like naked form. So it's really
Hmm.
interesting, and I ended up meeting a couple other Americans there that were just like looking at things, and this one girl was like rubbing her hands a lot. She didn't have gloves on. I'm like, here, I got some hand warmers left over from when I was in the military. So I gave her some, and they're talking about how they went to this like were going to this like nice dinner place later, and I'm like, oh well. I did my thing again where I awkwardly like injected myself. Like, yeah, if you want, you can join us. It probably ended up being like $100 meal, which wasn't really that bad for what it was. It was like a one of those that had like probably like 4 or 5 courses where they bring out like a
Yeah.
food, a type of wine, and like an appetizer, but it's like small portions.
Yeah.
And
That's.
then
I've never done anything like that.
It was nice. It was like super dim lights, and it was like this weird like monastery like chanting in the background, like oh,
I got,
it was a weird atmosphere.
that's
Um,
interesting.
what else in Norway? Nothing else really sticks out in Norway except for two stories that I'll save for a different time. So
Didn't
I
search for it.
I met up with my boy in Ireland, and Ireland was freaking awesome. I think that might have been my favorite place out of all of it, because man, fucking Irish are awesome, dude. First off, they love Americans. Um, God damn, can they drink, dude? They can drink
Yeah.
so much. I felt like nothing when I was there drinking. Um, and then I went to a pint of Guinness in Ireland. I can't drink Guinness here anymore because it was so good in Ireland. It's so
Yeah.
fresh, it's so tasty, and then you have it here, and it's just kind of like not to be pretentious or anything, but it was so good there. And then the Guinness Museum, or the Guinness factory, was like next level. It was like the trippiest experience I've ever had because they have like the way they set everything up is like super trippy, like with how they have like a lot of like digital displays that kind of like wrap around environments, and then within that they have like really high level animations of like beer bubbles, like just like different sequences of like shit that's just like you could stare at for hours. um and then you get to the top, and we got out there as the sun was setting, and it's got a 360 view, and you're just like they had a band playing on one side and like a DJ playing on the other side, and you get one free beer at the end of it, and you're just like overlooking Ireland, or you're overlooking Dublin as the sun's setting. It was
That's all.
it was sick. If you ever go to Ireland, I 100% recommend that.
Oh yeah. That sounds
Um,
awesome.
then we went to, I think Germany was our next stop. That was interesting. So we went to the Dachau workers camp. So do you know about that camp?
Not really, no.
So that camp, it's not a concentration camp. It's just a labor camp, but it actually has more deaths there than Auschwitz,
Wow.
because they did have a gas chamber, but it was pretty small, which we walked through, and that was weird. That was an eerie feeling.
I'm sure it was.
But they had the highest number of deaths there because they were just like it was a labor camp. Like they were putting them to work.
Yeah.
They were coming over packed in train cars with disease, and
Yeah.
like people were dropping like flies there. So that's how they got the most deaths. But yeah, that dude, there was two things. There was a firing range where like they executed the prisoners. That was really weird to see. And then there was the gas chambers, which was like it was three separate rooms. They would tell them that they're going to take showers. They're gonna like take showers to like clean off. Pack them in the first room as like a holding area. Then they go into the second room, and there's like shower heads, but they're just heads. Like they're not connected to anything. It's just so they don't like freak out and like run away or anything. Then they have these grates on the wall where it's got like a chute that comes up from the outside where they would drop the canisters in, and like they couldn't like shove it back up or move it away or anything, and that's how they gassed them. And then the room after that was the furnaces. So they would bring them into there, and it was literally just three of them. So like literally they were putting so many bodies through there. It was an intense experience. But again, it's one of those things I'm glad I got to experience it, because
Yeah.
it's honoring the
It
people
gives
that
you
were
a
there.
different perspective.
Yeah, yeah, it's like shit. Like
But what
times used to be rough, man.
like the world has changed. I mean, has it? But
I was just gonna say like
yeah, but it's crazy that because you hear all these stories and you read the books and you know, but it's different when you're there like staring it at the face, and you know you can almost feel yourself in that times, you know, and you it's a totally different understanding of the situation, Um,
Yeah.
wow, yeah, I'm sure that was intense.
And then on a brighter side in Germany, uh, we were probably another story that's better for offline, but moving past that, we were just like looking for a bar. I had matched with this. Uh, she was a girl whose family was, this was on Tinder. A girl whose family was from Turkey, moved, I think it was Turkey, moved to Germany, and she like had just recently like denounced like her like Islamic religion, and so she was like, wanting to experience all the stuff she was sheltered from. So I felt kind of bad. I convinced her to go out. She's like, "Oh, I got to work in the morning." I'm like, "Oh, you just said you're trying to experience new things. Come on out." And then she like immediately said, "Oh, you're right. I'll go." I'm like, whoa, like I don't. I was just kidding. Like I don't want to make you feel like you're forced into anything. And I did like some quick backpedaling because I felt bad. But then she's like, "No, like you're right. Like this is like the kind of like things I want to do." So I met her at like this kind of fancier bar. And yo, when they say like Germans, like Jägermeister is the German drink, like Jägermeister is the German drink. Like I thought it was more of like an Americanized interpretation of
Yeah,
Germans just because like it's Americans drinking a German drink.
yeah.
No, dude, this guy pulled out a golden bottle of Jägermeister and poured me a Jägermeister shot. And by the way, they don't do Jaeger bombs. They just do Jaeger
Yeah.
shots. I guess that's
Yeah.
an us thing.
That's the American twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was okay. It was like a low key bar. It was kind of like on the fancier side. And then my boy met up with me, and the three of us were like looking for another place to go. So I just like I looked up a place and we went there. And if you whatever your mind is of like the punk scene in Germany in the 80s, that is exactly what this bar was when we walked into it. They were like playing like grungy hardcore music. There was like straight out of a movie, like leather pants, like spiked hair, like collar with studs on it. It was like it was the
You're
coolest
right at
thing.
home.
I loved it so much. I was like, this place is awesome. Um, I think that was Germany, and then we went to had a quick stint in Belgium. Prague. Prague was sick. Prague had some dope places, like some like Gothic era castles.
Nice.
Um, then we spent New Year's Eve in Amsterdam because this guy had a friend who lived in Amsterdam,
Of course.
and he had rooftop access. So another weird thing, like fireworks are illegal in Amsterdam, but everyone was lighting fireworks. So we went up to the roof, and you just do a 360, and like there was not a field of vision that did not have fireworks going off.
Nice.
And then of course I partook in the Amsterdam activities there, which was interesting because I always thought you hear coffee shop, it's literally like an ATM window. Like it's like you're walking into an Amscot and you're doing this like this dirty transaction of like, hey, like I'll buy a pre-rolled and a gram of weed, and that's it. I thought I was gonna have like this experience where I can like legit like actually enjoy a cup of coffee and like,
Yeah.
oh, we can smoke it right. No, it's like four windows. You line up, you buy your shit, and you get out, and
Take your
that's
shit
it.
out of here. Go home.
I was like, oh, this feels dirty. Like I don't like this experience. And then there's the smart shops. You know what the smart shops are?
Uh,
It's where they sell the mushrooms.
okay.
And they don't actually sell mushrooms, they sell truffles. They only sell the truffles.
Okay.
So I had bought truffles before and had a very mild experience, like almost nothing. And the girl that I was with also said the last time she had truffles, it was like almost nothing. So we both bought a full package of the strongest one. They have a little piece of paper that shows like, oh, this type has, like
Mhm.
3 out of 5 mushrooms for intensity, 4 out of 5 for visuals. So we got the one that was almost maxed out because we're like, yeah, truffles don't really hit that hard. So we both take them, And then
Clown.
We go to McDonald's to order some food, and we're sitting there, and this McDonald's is packed. And then like we're both starting, it's starting to hit us, and we're like, oh fuck, like this shit is hitting way harder than we expected. So then we're like, all right, we're just gonna get our stuff, and we're gonna go to the hotel that we planned on going to. So we couldn't check in yet though, so we had to sit there in the lobby of the hotel, and there's like people going by, and like there's this like couple dudes like sitting across from us, and we're both just like losing our shit. And then we finally get to the get are able to check into the hotel, and it's one of those deep sighs, and like, all right, we're just gonna ride this out. Like we definitely took way more than we should have.
Oh yeah.
It's a good time though. I mean, it's I always enjoy a good little shroomage.
Oh yeah.
Then
For sure.
where else did we go? I think he went back to France because he went to Normandy to get a no. He went back to Ireland because he wanted to go to the cliffs in Galway, which I really wanted to do, but I'm a huge fan of the British. I had to go to the UK.
Yeah.
I had to go to I went to London, which
Nice.
that was awesome. I really
Yeah.
I was actually planning on living in London by this point, but you know, poor boy things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I went to the British Museum. The British Museum was kind of a letdown with how much it had, because like you hear about the British Empire steals like artifacts from every nation.
Yeah.
That is literally what this museum was. It was just
Stolen.
everything about everywhere. There was no like real like honing in on any good exhibits. It was just like here's the entire history of everything, and it was just way too much. There was way too
Yeah.
much going on. But I mean, it's cool, if you go for like if you live there and you can go
Yeah.
look at like sections like every month or so. But to experience all of it nonstop was it was just like too
Overwhelming.
overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else did I do there? Oh, there was this cool church from like 700 that got like half destroyed in the aerial bombings in World War II, and they just
Hmm.
left it exactly as is. That was really cool. The London Tower, where they
Hmm.
used to have like they have like the armory of everything, where they keep it was basically like the defense of London, like I forget what year, but a long time ago. And they keep the crown jewels there. And I had my little gimbal and my iPhone out. I was recording everything, and I got to talking to one of the dudes that worked there that was like in charge of like just making sure like people aren't touching things, and they're all dressed up in like the fancy royal outfit and everything. I got to talking to him for a little bit, and he's like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go on break for 10 minutes. You meet me here." Well, first he asked me if I was gonna go see the crown jewels, and this was like a 45-minute wait for a line to get in. So
Yeah.
then he's like, he didn't say anything. He's like, "Let me take a 10-minute break, and then you meet me down here." And I'm like, "Okay." So 10 minutes later, I meet up with him, and this dude lets me cut in front of the entire line and to go look at all the crown jewels, pretty much everything that they used for like the was like the commencement of the king after she died.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, because like there was no way I was going like waiting in that line,
Yeah.
and this dude just lets me just. He literally like pulled up a chain, and I'm like looking at everyone as as I'm walking by. I'm like, "See you later,
I'm not
nerds."
here.
So that was cool. And he gave me like a personal tour. Everyone else just kind of walks through and looks at everything,
Yeah.
and he gave me like a personal tour, where like talking about this and this, like, oh, this is the crown and the scepter that the king will be holding on his day of commencement or whatever. So that was real cool. That was a real treat to do
Yeah.
that in
That's awesome.
London. I loved London. I want to go back so bad.
That's awesome.
Um, Woof. All right, so Europe trip, that's done. Come back. I'm dating someone in Orlando for a little bit. Things don't work out. I start back. I started, and then I started school. Well, I started working at Publix again last February. Not this past one, but the one
Hmm.
before that. And then I transferred to Tampa. So I started my first semester last in the fall, but fucking the advisor's such a turd. Like, really screwed me over. Like, she was supposed to change my major to studio art because that's what I was signed up for through the VA. And then I come to find out like the VA like bounces off of like the degree work. Like, they actually look at the classes you're signed up for, which obviously makes sense, but they have to line up under the actual major. Like, it has to be working towards that major. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, because before this, I even found this out. I had already emailed her like, hey, like we had a Teams meeting actually, where it was like, hey, I want to be a studio art major. It's like, okay, just send me the form and we'll get that set up. So I sent it to her, made sure it was good. She said, yeah. Nothing changed online. Like, oh, maybe it takes a while. So I emailed her a few days later. Hey, I just want to make sure that it's just standard to take this long. Nothing. A couple weeks go by, email her again, nothing. Couple months, email her again, nothing. I'm calling, I'm like trying to find out where this person is, nothing. So I ended up paying for that semester out of pocket, which really gets me going. And then it's
Yeah.
funny, like in my other classes will bring up like, oh yeah, this advisor, like I can't reach her, like she's not, like I needed this from her, but she's just like not answering emails. And I go, you talking about Tracy Harwood? And it's like, yeah, that's the one. And I'm like, I thought so. But then I email this other advisor. First off, she responds the day of, which is great, amazing. Thank you so much. It's like, all right, you just need to fill out this request to take this as a major. Like, all right, I was traveling with my dad at this point, so I was like, all right, get that to you as soon as I can. She didn't even wait for me to send this over to her. She just like changed my major. She sent me, hey, these are the classes I recommend you take in the spring, and I'm like, someone promote this woman. Like, give this woman a
Yeah.
raise. Like, she's getting it done.
Yeah.
And you see that few and far between with advisors, but kudos to her. So now I am a studio art major.
Nice.
My the classes I just finished up doing was beginning drawing, because that's a requirement. Uh, Beginning film, beginning photography. Is an art history class I had to take, and then concepts and practices, which is kind of like a general intro to art. Um, yeah, but I'm having a blast with it, man. Photography, I didn't think I'd enjoy photography so much. I'm really into that. Film is obviously like that's like the main one I'm trying to do. With learning how
Yeah.
to edit, how to put things together, how to narrate a story, with a certain selection of footage. Drawing, I started to really click with it at the end, but I think that's one thing that kind of feels like a chore to me. So probably not
Yeah.
gonna pursue too much of that. But I do have to take an intermediate drawing, which I'm doing. Digital drawing is
Hmm.
what satisfies that requirement. So that's kind of nice because it lines up with my desire to do things on the digital spectrum.
They just- Yeah. Yeah, for
So
sure.
that's what I'm taking in the fall is so digital drawing. I'm taking intermediate film, intermediate photography, and then there was something else I don't remember, but
That's awesome, man.
that's
That's exciting.
that about wraps it up for me for my life. An hour and a half later.
Yeah.
I really did not think me just talking and leading it would
Dude,
go on for an hour and a half.
I yeah, I totally like blew my timeline out of the water the first time too, and I looked up and it was like an hour had gone by, and I'm like, I thought I was just talking,
Yeah.
like, you know?
That's what's funny with all of Rogan's podcasts. Those are like every single one of them is like 2.5 to 3 hours, and
Yeah,
every one of his guests like they get because he maxes out at 3 hours, so they get to the end of it, and he's like, the guest is like, oh what, it's time to go already? Oh, it's been 3 fucking hours.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I definitely had a feeling we'd be able to. I guess not even we necessarily. Like apparently, just me can just go on for fucking an hour and a half.
Yeah, dude,
Um,
yeah, don't, yeah, I feel I'm the same way, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
But
So right now what I'm really trying to drive in terms of getting my channel going pretty well is I just started streaming. I'm playing Fallout right now. So you ever play
like,
Fallout? You ever get into it at all?
I'm not a huge gamer.
Yeah, I had a
Uh,
feeling that was gonna be your answer.
yeah, yeah. I had my runs with games for a few years in like high school, but then I don't know. I just never got back into it, and I don't know. It's just one of those things I get asked all the time, like all the time, because everybody games, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I have no clue what you're talking about.
yeah.
But
It is rough to try and to meet
it's
that
funny. Yeah,
medium. Yeah. But
yeah.
anyways, I'm a heavy gamer. Not as heavy
Mhm.
as I used to be. I could definitely be a lot more. Actually, I get it from my dad. Actually, my dad and my
Yep.
stepdad. So when I was young, I had a PlayStation 1 in both households,
Hmm.
and then my dad got an Xbox, the original Xbox. So that's kind of what put me down of being like the Xbox path. Um, because I'm definitely like hardcore Xbox. Like I'll never buy a PlayStation unless I'm buying like an old PlayStation for my collection.
Yeah.
But I had so when I was a kid, everything I had was a PlayStation 1, the original Xbox, a Super Nintendo. I had a Game Boy Color, so I was like big into Pokemon as a kid. Um and then the PlayStation 2. And then my dad always had every generation of Xbox. So original Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One. Um yeah, so and then when I was in high school, that's when I found Fallout 3 and I was like blown out of the water with it. I loved it so much. It was cuz it's I don't know if you know much about it, but it's like based
A
on
little bit. Yeah.
yeah, it's based on so it's based in like the 50 like in the 50s instead of going towards the transistor with electricity development, they went the nuclear route, and so like everything is like nuclear powered, and basically like all of the design never changed from the 50s. So like all the
Mm.
cars, like it was basically like it was like a car from the 50s that was nuclear powered.
Mm.
Um, but there was something about that 50s style that really made me I don't know, I just fell in love with the 50s. Like it created its whole like other obsession with like
Yeah.
fit like I listen to 50s music, like 50s
Yeah.
style. Like I really want to have like when I have a house and a man cave, I want a vintage ass Coca-Cola machine.
Yeah.
I think that would be so awesome. But then yeah, it really sparked
Maybe a past life.
yeah, it really sparked an interest in like just like antique stuff and old things, and I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm sure you've heard of the Fallout series that came out on Amazon. Like they made a
Yeah.
television show. I watched
Mhm.
it and I was actually pretty impressed with it. It wasn't like woke. It wasn't like trying to push an agenda. It had a strong female lead without like making it seem like oh we made it a female so we could have like
Yeah.
girl
No.
power. It was just no. It was just a good actress
Yeah.
that was a strong character, and like it was perfect. Like that's just leave it as is, and like they did just didn't make me feel like something was being shoved down my throat.
Yeah.
And like so and then the story itself was just amazing. The imagery, the practical effects, the digital effects, it was all just fantastic. So I it's just like, oh, I gotta play Fallout. I gotta play Fallout. Like I gotta get back into this. And so I'm just thinking, I could try and capture a little bit of extra traction on the channel. I also streamed Twitch and Rumble.
Nice.
Um, but I figure, just playing through the Fallout series might be a popular thing right now. So I've actually been focusing probably too much time on that. I've probably been doing like 2 streams a day, and each stream is like an hour and a half to 2 hours long. But also
Oh,
like school just got out, and I'm not scheduled to work like at all this week. So
yeah. Why not?
smoke them if you got them, I guess.
Yeah, that's
Um,
all right.
it's hard though because one and two were before my time, and they're turn based games. So it's not like a shooter where you're like aiming and stuff. It's just like you're clicking and you're giving the character commands and stuff. which there's kind of like a suspension of modern gaming that I had to really accept, because it does get kind of boring going from like, what we're used to today with this like nonstop action, like I need to be
Yeah.
like stimulated 100%, to this like do 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 do, and then you gotta read a lot of the stuff. Like there's only probably like five, probably less than 5% of the characters actually have like voice dialogue, so you have to like, you're literally reading every
Mm,
other character's dialogue. But man, they got some great storytelling, and
yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
like being funny and engaging for the year it was made and stuff. But
Mhm.
so doing that, what else? kind of kind of been it, just kind of focusing on like getting some editing practice in, and then yeah,
Sounds
focusing
like
on school.
I'm very
I've been like balls to the wall like this whole semester, because like when school was in, I was taking 5 classes. I was working like an average of 20 hours a week, trying to maintain some element of a social life and trying to get this, get video related stuff going.
yeah.
So it's kind of hard to stop and think of like, oh, what am I doing in life right now? Yeah.
But it's good. Sounds like all uh, very progressive things in your life that you're trying to just, go for, and learn. And it sounds like you're really doing well on your path at this point. You
I
know.
think so. I'm kind of swimming in a pool of unknown, so it's hard because it's like yeah, I'm like, I'm getting by with like the VA and everything,
Mhm.
but like that's kind of all life is right now. There's no like hard plan. Like I don't know if I'm gonna go to like try and intern at like a film company or something. Like
Yeah.
what, like, because I still gotta like hit those skills. I gotta still like really find my path. So it's hard because the first time I was in college, it was like I knew exactly what I wanted. Like I was going to the Marine Corps. That's all that mattered. Like I had a guaranteed job at the end of college. Like
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about that. And it's like now I'm experiencing what like everyone else experiences when they're in college for the first time, and it sort of gets me down a little bit, because like I'm this like
Yeah.
28-year
Do you feel
old
like you
dude
started
now.
over?
Yeah, it's like,
Like you're at
am I
the
behind
yeah.
the curve? And then I'm like,
Yeah.
and then I'm looking at like, especially like listening to like Rogan's podcast, like some of these like comedians like not really getting big until like, in their mid 30s to 40s or whatever. And I'm like, you know what?
And that's
We got this. There's time.
yeah.
Like I don't need to freak out about anything. Just enjoy the ride, make the best
Why
of
the
it.
why the rush?
Yeah.
Um, that's where I kind of think I am. I probably won't be able to start school until next year just because of the situation. We just moved. I moved on a job, so I don't want to get here and start school and be like, peace
Yeah.
out to the. But I probably have 6 to 8 years of school ahead of me. And that puts me pushing 35, 36 years old by the end of it, just getting an established career or
Yeah.
starting it,
Yeah,
you
just
know,
getting a foot in the door at a career.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah, as where kids are coming in at 26 years old, fresh out of college with a master's, you know, but that's where I believe, like in the therapy world, my life experience beforehand, will give me, the help I need versus a
Yeah,
younger
for
therapist
sure. Yeah, you
that
have
doesn't have
a lot more
life.
valuable of a perspective for
Yeah,
sure.
and so at that point, dude, and people go back to college and get degrees in their 60s,
Oh yeah.
70s. Like I'm sure I haven't been to college yet, but I'm sure you see it. There are people that learn until they die,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Like the neighbor that I told you about, she's stressed, like never stop learning.
Mhm.
And she's got, bookshelves of like she's got newspaper articles all the time. She's looking at stuff, like giving me stuff like, have you read about this? And I see her and it's like, you are such an inspiration.
Yeah.
I was at one point 24, 25 years old, not looking forward to a lot of the years in my life, but now I'm sitting here 28 and it's like my life has so much left to live. You know,
Yeah.
there's so much. Like we are very young
That's
still.
something I struggle
You
with a
know.
lot is comparisons, is comparing
Oh yeah.
myself to other people. And I think I'm a lot more self-aware of it than a lot of people, but you never really get rid of that. Like it's really hard to suspend that train
It
of
is hard.
thought cuz I'm
Yeah.
I'm always thinking like again, like I'm in fucking school with like 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Holy shit, like but then I got to realize like, oh man, like I'm
You
young.
have lived a little bit.
I've
Yeah.
lived a little bit, but then there's someone just across the street that's lived that much longer and that,
Oh yeah.
is either in the same position, maybe only a little bit ahead, maybe even behind. It's so hard. That's something I've been really trying to capture with my psyche is like don't compare yourself to anyone else but yourself.
That's exactly right,
And
dude.
then I look at myself and I'm like, dude, every day I'm getting so much better. Every day I'm like, I look at it as a comparison of like I was very stagnant when I was in the military too. It was very much like
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
I'm
Yeah.
comfortable, I'm secure, like I don't really need to worry about too much growth. Like, and it's kind of shameful to say to think of like that was who I was, because
Dude.
now I
Yeah.
have such an intense drive to get better at
Yeah.
things, and like now I'm thinking like, man, like why wasn't I able to apply that while I was in like in this
Yeah.
job that was supposed to be my like it was the only thing I saw
It
myself
was your
doing.
life.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
and I decided to stagnate, and here I am. I guess, I mean, I guess that's the way it goes though, because it's I can look at that and be like, oh well, I did not apply myself as I should have.
Yeah.
Now let me change that. Now let me be
Yeah.
better than I was before. And
And it's a difficult concept because you sit there and look back and it's like, damn, like I fucking sucked. You know?
yeah,
But it's like moving forward, like you said where you are, it's like there is no stopping me now. You know, and uh hopefully like I will never be at that point again, you know, and it's all about personal growth, you know. Like you're better now than you were then, you know.
yeah.
But,
Yeah, you're talking about reading too. Like that's something I haven't done it recently because I have been so like absolutely stupid busy. Like, of course,
yeah.
you can always make time for things. It's just a matter of like, can you make the motivation for it? And I know I have not been able to make the motivation for it. But I see it as an okay trade off because like I'm in school, I'm learning things. I'm actually
Yeah.
like engaged. Um, but before that, when I was taking 2 classes in the fall, I was reading all the time, and before that, I was bouncing between I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. I was reading some dude. There's some good Star Wars books. I ran through probably like 5 or 6 of those, and then I would also read some classics like 1984. I really like 1984. I tried reading FDR. Have you ever read that book or seen it? Or usually it's assigned in high schools and stuff. I was like, I've read something somewhere about how like badass FDR's life was. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy his book and read it, dude. That book came in the mail. That thing was like that fucking thick. I'm like, oh,
You
all
didn't read
right, well here we go. I started reading it, but dude, it was
it.
so dry. It was talking about like, oh yeah, FDR's great great grandfather had this contract with this bank, and they did lots of business with these. I'm like, who cares? Like, no one's gonna fucking pay attention to that. Like, give me, I need a
Need
shortened
some
version
juice.
of this.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, that was rough. I could see why it's a high school book because that sucked. That was not an interesting book at all.
Yeah, we had too many budget cuts for that type of literature.
Yeah. Um, what else was that?
Yeah, I reading has always been like an on and off thing for me, and I I do have a nice little collection of books that I do need to tackle that I've picked up over the last year or so.
Yep.
But I mean, a book I give credit to very like changing my life. You know, that I just found on the road, and I had to read it. But that's a long story. But yeah, reading. I'd like to definitely do more of it, and of course, it's like a time thing. It's like I gotta tell myself like sit down and read this book.
Yeah, and that's where I find the struggle of it too, because it's like
Yeah,
I want it to be a leisurely thing. I don't want it to be a chore. So for
right.
me, I internalize it as like, all right, here we go. I gotta do this chore again. So like I'm not gonna get the pleasure out of it. So I think ultimately that's why I stopped forcing myself to read.
Yeah,
Cause like yeah, you can do 10 pages a day, and then you're knocking out a good chunk of a book, and you're getting some reading in, but if you have to force yourself to do it, it's just not as enjoyable.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, but,
I was trying to read a. I was trying to get into not lucid dreaming, but astral projection.
yeah.
I was reading a book on that called I forget what it's called, but it was so wild. It was like it seemed like it was legit like a professor wrote this on his like experiences, but it seemed like a fictional story of like this supernatural life.
Dude.
He would talk about like I guess he was like predisposed to astral projection, which I'm a full believer in. I know people like don't. That's one of those pseudosciences people don't really accept.
Because you can prove it.
Yeah, but
That's crazy.
I believe it. I've tried. I've come close to it when I was in college. I think my closest experience was because I know I've heard like the best time to do it is like you wake up in the morning and then you force yourself to go back to sleep and you're trying to do it and you imagine that there's like a rope coming out of your chest and that you're
Yeah.
like grabbing it to pull yourself out. And
Oh,
I was doing that for like half an hour and then I started to feel my whole body vibrate, like really
yeah. That's
intensely vibrate, which is supposed to happen right before you like pop out of it.
yeah.
But I got really excited and then it ended it all. And
Dude,
then I haven't been able to chase that since.
that's the point that I have gotten to exactly is
Really?
a vibe state, and I'd like to practice more. Um, I've gone in so many phases of like trying this and like giving up, and I mean I keep trying, of course.
Yeah.
Now that you brought it up, it's a sign that I need to keep trying it, and I have actually been trying it the past couple weeks. Now that you mention it, just here and there. It's very fascinating, and I can talk all day about different consciousness states because it just fascinates the crap out of me. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm absolutely a little fangirl for that stuff too.
yeah, um,
So
it's
you
just
said you've tried lucid dreaming or you tried astral projection. Now
yeah.
do you try to do lucid dreaming as well? Like
So I I don't dream as much, and I do think it is due to like THC usages.
hmm.
Um, and so I'm working on now that I've specifically found out that if I smoke too close to bed, I don't have dreams,
Hmm.
which is interesting. So I'm starting to like draw it back earlier and earlier. Um, the last time I really had strong dreams was when I took a bunch of like sleeping medicine on ship and stuff like that
Yeah.
because everyone does. Um, and I don't know if it just like kicked me out of like heavy dreaming or what. I'm still kind of working on it, and it's funny because like I love dream work, um, but I have tried a few different methods. The like notes on the ceiling,
Okay.
um, and like the reading a clock,
Yep.
stuff like that. I was doing this thing that actually worked one time. Now that I'm thinking about it, I would do this during the day. I
Yep.
would just touch my finger uh, because it gets your mind in that pattern.
Yeah, you're
So whenever
testing to
you're dreaming,
see if you're lucid or not. Yeah. I used to
yeah,
my signal was this. I would look down and do
yeah,
this.
yeah. So you've had success with it.
Uh not as much as I wanted to.
Okay.
I would get to, again, it was a matter of getting too excited. Like I would focus
Yeah.
on you do the method where you focus on your fingers and toes and like they
Yeah.
vibrate, and so I'll do that, and like I can get them to I can get like my fingers and toes to tingle, my hands and feet to tingle, and then it starts working up in my leg, and then when it
Yeah.
starts to hit the full body, that's when it's like, oh, it's happening, and it's
Yeah.
gone.
Because essentially you're putting your body to sleep.
Yeah.
Uh, and a method that I did find pretty successful, I would start at my feet and toes, and I would just go in sections with my body and just kind of tighten and flex every muscle in that body and then release it.
Huh.
Uh, and kind of like breathe out as I'm doing that. And uh, I've gotten better with it just by practicing, just like breathing and relaxing muscles deeper, especially with like my face. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's so crazy. Paige and I were talking about it not long ago. How much like how many muscles in our face that are constantly clenched and
Yeah, have that tension all the time.
yeah, and once you actually like relax the muscles in your face, dude, it's like so relieving.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's one of my methods too. Is like I don't like do the like a pre clench or a pre tightening
yeah,
of anything. I just do like a because like it's already there, but I can like I've gotten pretty good at like targeting like, oh shit, my like my back is tense, like relax that. Oh,
yeah,
my legs are tense, okay, relax that, because that's one of the
yeah.
first things I read when like learning methods was like you're subconsciously like way more tense than you think, and you need to
Oh
like
yeah,
release that. And I think
yeah,
one of the biggest things was like make yourself feel like you're sinking into your bed, and that's what really
yeah,
helped me release a lot of that tension.
yeah. It that was definitely one of the biggest things whenever I learned to kind of meditate is kind of like, and I would just do it in like a big recliner chair. And I would get to the point where I literally cannot tell the difference between my body and the chair. Um, it just meshes together,
Yeah.
and that's the point where I know, uh, my body is falling asleep, and I'm aware of it, and that's the step in the right direction, and that's, um, of course, like as you're learning to do these things, like you said, you get so excited when you reach the next step of like, oh
Yeah.
no, like what they're talking
Snaps
about,
you
like
out of it. Yeah.
yeah,
I've
and
been
then it's like,
really
oh, you have a thought.
Yeah, I've been really trying to not trying to because I haven't actually put any effort into any of it lately because I have been so busy, but I've been really having a heavy desire to reach like maybe not necessarily elevated states of consciousness, but just like could be like lateral states of consciousness, like
Yeah,
whatever. Like I've just been wanting to explore the psyche, mainly, well, most accessibly through meditation. I've been wanting to do some form of meditation slash like you know yoga, maybe potentially have like uh psychedelic induced meditation,
yeah,
and a little more further beyond my reach is I really want to do an ayahuasca trip. Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
really and I want to do like it's kind of funny. They have them here in Orlando, like full on ayahuasca retreats. And I'm thinking like, yeah, that's like nice and accessible, but it's like it's meant to be
dude,
like done in a jungle where you feel like
and
you might die.
that's like such the like big thing with like all these retreats, and because there's retreats all across America.
Yeah.
Um, and even out of country, you see like South America, Peru with
Mm-hmm.
ayahuasca, and that's where a lot of like these veterans are going down
Yeah.
and taking the ayahuasca trips for the therapeutic sessions. And it sucks because you're in a very vulnerable state, and there are so many cases across the psychedelics, not just ayahuasca, but it's um, that where people are being taken advantage of,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
it's kind of like a very sticky situation because obviously trying to promote that and showing people what amazing things that these things are capable of, and somebody's always got to turn some like take the bad into something, and it ruin it for everybody is the thing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's one of those situations where it's like,
Yeah, you got to put a lot of faith into that. It's like
you do
it's a
do your
gamble.
research.
So
Yeah.
there's this one chick that was on Rogan, and mind you, I'm listening to like I'm in like the 2013 2014 episodes. So there's this reporter who had never done any psychedelics, and Rogan told her like hey, like you need to, like you should take some shrooms, take some psychedelic, like hit this elevated state of consciousness, like work through some things. And then like within a year of him telling her that, she had gone on like 7 ayahuasca trips, because like she immediately did shrooms and was like, holy shit, like I am opening my eyes up to the world. She had like one negative ayahuasca experience about like some shaman like getting like touchy and like feeling her up or something
Yeah,
while she was in that state
that's
of
an
mind.
often thing I've seen.
Luckily she was very conscious of it. She was like she trusted it first, like, oh, like maybe this is part of the process, like, oh, like no, this is not right. So, but I guess she said she handled it really well. It wasn't like traumatic for her. It was like get the fuck off of me. And
Yeah,
then like it went well from there. But apparently she set up a website. I haven't looked into this yet, but apparently she set up a website that has like review, like allows you
good,
to have these reviews. So
good.
it's like a nice collection of like shamanic reviews,
Good.
to build some credibility around the world. So I have to look into that, because again, this is down the road. I need to have a little bit better of an income at that point to do one of those trips.
They are expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think we should probably cut it off the 2 hour mark.
I was
So we'll
just
see.
thinking that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Dude,
guess next
definitely do
time.
this again. There's a
Yeah.
lot of unsaid stuff here.
Next time we'll start with your story, and then
I'll have to run through it fast because
maybe we can keep it before the hour and a half.
I will sum it up the best as I can. I've told it so many times that I can probably skip through a few parts that, But yeah, man, I enjoyed this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for
Yeah.
being my number one podcast guest.
Yeah.
And
Thanks
then
very much.
yeah, if you ever host anything on your end too, just let me know, and we can do something on your end. We can. I have a
Yeah.
feeling we could do this like however many times and always keep it
Yeah.
full of some conversations.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down for sure.
All right. Well, it was so awesome talking to you, and I look forward to the next time we do this.